Maureen in Ontario, Canada. She's calling in to want to
Hi.
know why we think humans throughout time have had to have faith in a God.
Yeah, I guess I want to just say that I think what I think faith is this need or this want in this higher being. And is this something that humans have always had, and why have they had to have this? Like, what is it about us that needs this or wants this?
Yeah, and the other thing is, some of us don't want it and don't need it. Um,
No, I understand
no,
that.
no, I'm just
But
I'm
like,
just
I
acknowledging that it's
guess, okay,
Maureen.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
just acknowledging that it's not
Yeah.
universal. As a matter of fact, there are also cultures like the Paraha, which is I think an Amazonian tribe, that they had no concept of God, and so we know that
Mhm.
this isn't truly universal. But I think the best explanation is that human beings are flawed thinkers facing
Uh-huh.
problems. And as long as we're flawed thinkers facing problems, that means we're not always going to get to the right answer. And we're willing to take an expedient, comforting answer. And I don't know what could be more comforting than I know you don't know. And I know you're afraid of what you don't know. But there's someone who knows and they're looking out for you. That's a comforting
Yeah.
thought when faced with uncertainty, and it applies for death and sickness and every bit of trouble that comes in your life. I mean, how can you not just, oh, you know what? It's all part of God's plan. Or you know, no matter how many of you are against me, God is still with me. And Christianity and other religions actually exploit that aspect of humanity. Um, in the Bible, basically suggesting that you're going to be persecuted in my name's sake. And what that does is it when somebody is trying to shove their religion down somebody else's throat and they start to feel persecuted, they get a backlash and they feel persecuted. Um, it just reinforces the idea that they've done the right thing. If you think when you're out there doing what Jesus wants you to do, that people are going to call you names and people start calling you names, then you're like, I'm being persecuted because I'm doing the right thing by Jesus. But it could just be that you're an ass. Not you, Maureen, but
Yeah.
somebody.
No, yeah, I get it. I guess I'm just saying, yeah, I understand that it's not this universal thing. It's just, why is our history so full of, there's so much of it. Like, there must be something that makes us all want, or most of us want to be this way. I don't know.
Well, Maureen,
Does that make any sense?
you know that humans have evolved such a way that a couple things are true. One is that we don't like being out of control and not knowing things, right? You would agree that that's just been a universal
Yeah.
human trait. So one way
Yeah.
to fill the I don't know or I'm out of control gap is to insert someone that does have control, even if they're for you or against you. Different religions have done it, but that there's something else that there is control, and there's someone else that does know, and it's that God did it has been a universal band-aid forever, of a gap of we don't know, right? And we don't know is something that's uncomfortable for most people. So you acknowledge that. It sounds like you also acknowledge that it's been a human trait that we have evolved because we relate to faces, soul, and everything, that we anthropomorphize things, right? We give things humans traits that don't have human traits. You look at any animated movie, we give the mice
Yeah.
human motivations, we give the trees human motivations, so that trait that we've evolved also extends to obviously nature and everything else, right? So go, well, we have motivations, so therefore the wind must have motivation, or therefore there, we anthropomorphize things just in general when we are uncomfortable as well. So do you think that those two things in combination are anthropomorphization, as well as our discomfort with I don't know? Do you think that is a solid enough answer for your question as to why people throughout the last 100,000 years may have posited gods?
Yeah, I guess I see what you mean. I guess I'm kind of thinking that it's because one of our traits is that we have to be part of something. Like, we can't be on our own,
We absolutely.
and maybe we're influenced by the fact that so many around us think one way, so we end up thinking that way. I'm not sure if that makes
That's a
sense.
great observation. Absolutely, Maureen. But we as a social species, humans are not the fastest. We are not the strongest. We, by ourselves, any individual human is going to die quick. We have evolved so that the cohesiveness, so that the social aspect, they call us a social species, is our survival
Yeah.
advantage, other than our intelligence. And so I think you hit on something exactly right there. That we feel good when we're part of the in group, and we feel bad when we're not part of the in group, which explains a lot of how religion is successful. And also, I think you're right that if you're alone on an island, you want to posit that I feel lonely, so I'm going to make a Wilson, but a Wilson in the sky. So I think that is probably also another factor. Um, Given all that, Maureen, do you think that's a good enough answer for your question as to
Yeah.
why this happened?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just something in us that we just like have this need or this want of something that we can't, like you say, we can't prove it. So it doesn't really make sense.
Right.
But
Do you
it's
agree that
just,
do you agree that that's the desire is not a sign that there has to be something out there?
yeah,
Okay,
I agree with that.
great,
I think,
Yeah, I
excellent.
see your point. Yes, really.
there's a question that
Um,
kind of gets to the heart of what Maureen was talking about, which is you can look at the history of human beings and the number of times that they have advocated for, posited, asserted some God exists. And we can be pretty confident that some, most, or all of those claims aren't true because it can't be the case that these competing gods all exist. You can't have two all-powerful gods that are the one true God. And so there's this question of why throughout history have we keep making these claims that we can't really demonstrate? But there's a better question, I think, and it may be about how I ended up where I'm at, which is if there is in fact one true God, why isn't that the one that is clearly defended and presented instead of all the others? Why does that God not clear up the confusion? If I were God and I looked down at the world and saw people worshiping all kinds of things that aren't real and not worshiping me, well, first of all, I'd be okay with that because I don't want worship, but I wouldn't be okay with them worshiping all the other things. At a minimum, even if I was apathetic and wasn't looking for adoration myself, I think it would be my responsibility to say to the people that are down there, hey, yeah, I'm God, not that, not that, not that, not that. I really need to clear that up. And the fact that nothing even remotely like that has ever happened is almost unsurprising if you're in the view that there's not a God out there, but it is seemingly unanswerable if in fact there is a God out there.
yeah, I have this stupid thought maybe that um, if like I grew up Catholic, so I knew the Bible, I knew Adam and Eve. I always had the story that when they never accepted, his one rule, and he said, "Okay, you're off on your own." I kind of think we're all off on our own. So I kind of think he sort of like, I don't know, gave up on us. Does that make any sense? I'm not sure.
Kind of, but I
Like,
think part of the problem
yeah,
here is that what you've done is you have cherry picked parts of the Bible while ignoring the other parts of the Bible, and you're doing it for seemingly
yeah,
good reasons. In that these other parts don't make sense, and what's the best way for me to make this make sense? Oh, I can say that after the Garden of Eden, God just left us on our own. So all the rest of that stuff in the Bible is just made up, but the first part's true. Except that we know that the first part of the Bible cannot be literally true. It literally gets the order of events wrong. And we
yeah,
know that even, I hate the phrase, but mitochondrial Eve, which is our nearest universal female ancestor and mitochondrial atom, which is our nearest universal male ancestor, don't overlap in the time frames that they existed. Now there was never a literal Adam and Eve, but even the metaphorical one don't
Yeah.
line up in time. And so we know that the stuff in Genesis is right. Genesis isn't right. And what you're doing, and I'm just pointing it out, is let
Yeah.
me see if I can salvage something in the story. And so the best solution you've come up with is something kind of like that might have happened, and then God gave up on us. And that explains why God's not interacting with us now. But that also means everything about all those religions untrue, everything about salvation is untrue, and that the God we don't know anything about. We don't know if it wants respect or worship or adoration. We we have to throw out Jesus. We have to throw out pretty much everything, which I'm fine doing. But it's just I'm also willing to throw out Genesis chapter 1 and 2.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're coming from. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to make an excuse or something for what I'm trying to believe in. I'm not really sure.
And
I
you don't
guess
have to
I'm
be.
just,
You don't have to be, Maureen. Just
yeah.
keep asking questions, keep being honest with
Mhm.
yourself, keep caring about whether or not things are true, and you'll believe what your conscience dictates. You don't have a choice. Belief isn't a
Okay.
choice. You're either convinced of something or you're not. And if you keep striving for the truth and for understanding, I think you're more likely to find the truth and to find understanding than if you stopped and just accepted stuff. So keep asking questions.
Okay. Thank you. Uh,
Thanks so much,
can
Maureen.
I just say one thing?
Sure.
Can I say one thing to you guys?
Okay.
Um,
Please.
it's kind of a joke. Where do you guys get the patience of Job to deal with some of these people that just constantly don't want to hear what you're saying to them?
Um,
Like you guys have patience. And my joke was that it must have came from somewhere other than
I
because most people I
genuinely
know don't have this patience.
I genuinely appreciate that, Maureen, because it's very easy to find clips, especially of me more so than anybody else on the network. It's really easy to find clips of me losing my shit and having no patience. And I do appreciate it when people recognize that, hey, Matt does have more patience than maybe we thought. And so, yeah, I, there's no answer to that. It's, I care about the truth. I used to believe something that I no longer believe is true. If I'm wrong, I want to know, but I ain't taking no bullshit. If somebody's going to come in and be like, "Oh, well, we presuppose God." No, we don't. I mean, that's
Mhm.
presupposition is a non-starter. If you're not going to present evidence-based reasons to believe that there's a God, we can't get anywhere. And that appears
You,
to be to some as impatient or close-minded. And what it really is 20 years of doing this and having one person after another just try to claim, well, it's just common sense that there's a God. And that's
oh
not,
yeah,
biology isn't determined by common sense and cosmology isn't determined by common sense. Common sense, while it's a useful tool that can be trained, is wrong about a lot of stuff.
yeah.
For me, Maureen,
Well, thanks for
I still feel like I'm very fresh out of it. So for me, it's very easy for me. My whole channel is dedicated to me making videos to the me that I used to be, using the kind of tone and terms that the former me might have potentially listened to. So being fresh out of it, even though it's getting closer to a decade than zero. Yeah, for me, that's it. Also Canadian. So
Oh, okay.
There you
Okay,
go.
well, thanks for listening.
Thanks,
I
Maureen.
appreciate it. And
Have a
keep
good day.
keep it up.
thanks.
We
And
will do
before we
that. We have
have,
two more calls.
I just want to
We
say,
have two more.
before we get a weird caller who calling in 2 months from now saying that Matt said mitochondrial atom when he meant chromosomal atom, Matt
Oh,
knows. He
yes.
knows. Matt knows.
Sorry.
So don't call in on that. He knows.
They're still going
Yeah.
to email and call in because
Yeah.
and genuinely, uh, that was me. So there's the term among wrestling fans of being half smart. and it doesn't quite align with it, but that was definitely an example of me barely being half smart mitochondrial atom. Sorry.
He knows.
Live TV. What are you going to do?
Yep.
You're going to be wrong on occasion, and I am. And thank you for the correction.
Hey, if you liked this video, why don't you click that like button?
And if you didn't
That's
like
what
it,
you would say.
subscribe.
Okay.
You didn't even give me a chance.
There was such a long pause. Too much
What are you on speed or
All right, let's
something? I barely had a
Let's
chance.
try again. Hey, I hope you liked. Hey, I hope you. Fuck. Hey there. I hope you liked that clip. Hey, I hope you liked that clipper just now, the one that you just watched with your eyes. If you did like it, why don't you click that like button?
And if you didn't like it, tell Jimmy to go fuck himself.
Hey, I hope you liked that clip right now. If you did like it, why don't you hit that like button?
And if you didn't like it, go ahead and subscribe anyway.